Hi guys, and welcome to my channel. It's Hila here, Saturday Night Stitch, and today I am beyond excited to finally get to do the browse through of the September 2020 issue. I have many thoughts to share on it, and I've got some sewing plans to go with this. Heads up, I love this issue. I didn't think it was possible for me to like any issue better than 8/2020, but I actually really quite like this issue. Like the cover picture that they have gone with, because this is such a beautiful bright floral jacket. Has got quite some great curb appeal, would catch the eye of people who don't necessarily sew. So I thought that was great. It doesn't quite have the same Vogue vibes as 8/2020 because she's smiling. Because, you know, she's doing high fashion. High fashion, you're not supposed to be smiling. You're supposed to have a very surly face. But apart from that, good stuff. We've got a brief intro here where the editor is talking about the challenges of creating the magazine during this coronavirus time. And they're showing how for the photo shoots they're social distancing and they're wearing face masks. And I thought that was a nice little touch to it. And they've also introduced us to an intern at Burda who's actually sewing up one of the patterns. And she does a little section where she styles one of the garments. And I thought that was quite sweet, so to speak. There's a vintage sewing section where they're looking at some vintage sewing machines, and I was quite happy to see the little grasshopper. So as some of you know, I collect vintage sewing machines, and this, I have been trying to get my hands on this for a few years now. So far to date, only 2 of them have turned up on eBay United Kingdom with an actual UK plug. You can get them on the American market, but they've got the US plug, which I can't use directly here in the in the UK. So yeah, and I don't want to use the transformer because you can use American rated electrical goods, but you have to have a transformer, and I don't want that. I would ideally like to get something that has already been adapted, and they're very rare. And both times I got outbid and I missed the end of the auction. So personal little rant aside, I loved this picture. I was just like, oh, I wish I could blow this up and make some little art for my sewing cave. Okay, now let's move on to actual sewing stuff. Right off the bat, we've got jacket number 120. Center front zip, Peplums. You already had me at Peplum. I do love the Peplum. I love the design congruency. If you look on the line drawing there, we've got a dart for shaping at the waist, and then we have a pleat that joins up with the dart. I like it when things line up beautifully like that. The other unique thing about this particular jacket is the sleeve. There is this strange looking little pleat, and it looks like the armscye is exaggerated, as in it really jumps into the shoulder a lot more than a normal satin sleeve. So it'll be quite interesting to see what the Burda sewing community does with this. And I kind of feel like you could easily just lengthen this into a dress and it would work. Blouse number 101. I liked this blouse, oddly enough. It kind of grew on me. It didn't jump out at me at the first or the second browse, but by the third or fourth one, because I got a chance to browse through this a lot. I bought the French issue when I was camping in France, so I had a whole week of just looking at it and really pondering and considering and reading the instructions. And this one really grew on me. And I think I might be able to make it work with this fabric here. I think that could work. I like the fact that it's a loose fit with the gathered shoulder yoke and the gathered sleeve. So that means that I could lay it over a turtleneck for autumn. So yeah, I was like, I approve. Quite like that. And then over here, we've got a pair of cigarette pants. High waist. This is a standard Burda signature look. I love the fabric that they've used. It's just something so wonderfully quirky and fantastic about the floral and the border print. It looks fab. And the way that they've styled it with this sweater that has this embroidery and the orange trench coat. Fabulous stuff. Absolutely fabulous. Over here, we've got blouse number 103. Another contender for this fabric here as well. I think that this has got the good drape that could work with this particular top. It has some pleated detail. If you look on the line drawing there, you can't really see it that much because this is a slightly busy print, but it does have an opening on there and the little tie details. Again, I like the fact that it is roomy enough for me to be able to wear under a roll neck a roll neck top, because we're getting to that point now where I have to start thinking about autumn sewing this reluctantly. So I quite like this one as well. And then over here we've got a pajama jumpsuit, you know, because the pajama trend is apparently on Vogue at the moment. Joking aside though, I do like the print that they have used. It's bright and it's popping. Not necessarily my style, but I can appreciate how awesome this looks on her, and great pose as well. She looks like she's having fun with that. And then we've got this dress, which is in a petite size. Now, when I saw this in the preview, I didn't think that this would be a petite size. I actually thought it would be a tall size for some reason. So I was quite surprised to find out that it was in the petite sizes. But it's a really beautiful sheath dress with a portrait neckline. And you've got some really funky pleated details going on at the front. I'm not too sure how this pleat actually would work in principle. I think you'd have to be very specific about the type of fabric that you pick for this. You would need a fabric that would hold that pleat in place, and I haven't seen a side view picture of this dress because I'd really want to see what that looks like at the front. And I have a feeling that this sort of style, it wouldn't work that well if you were on the bustier side. So I think if you're kind of on the flat-chested side like me, yeah, you'd have a chance of that pleat not looking gapey. But yeah, I'm quite interested. It's got an origami, and that's it. It's slightly origami-esque at the front, but some interesting design lines. And of course, it's got raglan sleeves. Raglan sleeves are really quite interesting and quite flattering. I'm curious to see what people do with this one in the Burda sewing community. And then we've got that jacket. Again, oh, looks fabulous, doesn't it? With the wide leg trousers and everything. Aspirational content right here. It ticks all of the boxes. Makes me feel like I should be sewing a jacket, even though I know better because I've got tons of jackets that I have made. But I like this enough to actually reconsider my jacket retirement. And it's beautiful to look at. Fantastic choice of fabric. Yeah, and I have a feeling that this is going to be popular because this is kind of like a class, a timeless style. Although, having said that, hold my beer. Although I don't actually drink beer. I've just realized something. I don't know if you can see on the picture there. Is it just me, or do those sleeves look shorter than they should be? Or maybe it's just because she's an extra tall model. But this has just given me a little bit of a red flag, the fact that these sleeves are ending here. So for me, that would mean that they're sort of like ending around here. I would check this before I would cut into any of my fabric, but we'll see in another picture if it corresponds. Okay, and then we have over here dress number 107. I love the look of this dress. I love the styling. I love the energy in it. Yeah, everything about it, right down to the tights that they've used with the floral rose print. So this I am definitely going to be making, and I'm going to be making it with this lovely rayon challis fabric here, which I think has got the right drape for it. And I've been rereading the instructions just to understand how that casing works. So this is a faux wrap dress. It looks like it's a wrap dress, but it isn't. It's actually sewn all together at the waist, and you put an elastic at the waist to give it the shaping over there. Now, I've already traced this pattern out, and I do have some advice for anybody who's wanting to make this, advice that's going to save you loads of tracing paper or parchment paper and loads of time. So if you want to skip straight ahead, go to this time code written over here. Otherwise, we'll keep it until the end just to separate out, you know, pattern advice from actually talking about the magazine itself. But if you're interested in making this and you don't want to go through the rest of the video, then just do skip ahead, because I promise you, you're going to save yourself a lot of time and a lot of tracing paper. But yeah, love this. Absolutely love this. And then over here, we've got a really cute loungewear zip-up jumper. And I love the fabric that they've used for this. It's a floral fabric. Yeah, I just don't have any need for something like this in my wardrobe. Otherwise, I would have made it. But if I made it, I would have added pockets to it. Because to me, things like this look unnatural without the kangaroo pockets for your hands to hang out in. Because pockets are everything, guys. They are. And then we have here this skirt, which is a tall size 72 to 88. And I love this skirt. It's cut on the bias, so it's got like a beautiful drape to it, and it's got a flounce, just a very slight flounce. Very beautiful, great choice of fabric. Love the styling and everything to go with it. I've also traced this pattern out, ready to sew, and I'm going to be making it in this crepe fabric here, and I just think that it's going to be fabulous because it's got the drape for it. But yeah, love it. Okay, so this is also the featured sewing lesson, this cute little jumper, and because it's a knit, they're telling you about serging and stuff like that, which is a pretty cool. And one of the details that this little jumper has is got the eyelets and the drawstring neckline. We've got some ads for some lovely perfumes. Okay, we've got that jacket again, but this time it's in a cream woolen fabric, and the tailoring on this is impeccable in terms of inspiring mastery. With regards to the sewing craft, this does it for me. It's really beautifully made, and makes me feel like I want to try and take my tailoring game up a notch. Fantastic stuff. And then we've got a pencil skirt. Pencil skirt is a very popular silhouette. I dare you to find a sewing magazine that doesn't include a pencil skirt. They just do them. What's different about this one is they've given it a yoke up to the lower hip, and then it just goes straight down, and it's been made in patent leather, which apparently, if you are to believe Harper's Bazaar or Vogue, patent leather is one of the 9 top trends of autumn 2020. So Burda is keeping up with the trends apparently. And we've got coat number 116, and this is another second banging coat pattern in this issue. It's very clean looking, very clean lines, because it doesn't have any lapels or any fussy details. And it's made with snaps, so it isn't fussy looking at all. And it's got like these deep pockets on the inseam, super relaxed shoulders. So it's a easy fit style. And I love the camel fabric that they've used to make it. I think it's a Loden wool, so it's like really nice and thick, and so you're basically walking around wearing a blanket, which is really awesome. And I have a feeling that this one will be quite popular in winter. That dress again, number 107, except now it's number 108, and it's been lengthened and made in a blush pink viscose crepe, and it just looks so elegant and so divine. But what makes this for me is those shoes, houndstooth boots. Come on, love it. Fantastic. And then we've got a top with an asymmetrical funnel neckline. The busy print doesn't do a lot for this, although there's another viewing of it that you can actually see more detail. But yeah, a lovely simple top with some bust shaping. Nothing more to say about it. Okay, so here we go with that dress, the petite style sheath dress that has the pleat at the front. And despite the fact that the origami aspects of that bodice, obviously they are quite interesting to look at, I'm not sure practically wearing them actually works, especially the way that they kind of like stick out here. I feel like this should be pinned down. I feel like it's missing a few stitches to stick it down. And then there's the way that it gapes. It reminds me of my kids make these little things called chatter boxes, where they fold up an A4 piece of paper to make it into something that you stick 4 hands in, and then you kind of like get them to open. That's what that reminds me of. And I think, in my opinion, and let me know if I'm wrong in the comments, but I think that this would work if you just removed that pleat over here and you just had that as a center front seam. I think that that could work. Separately though, beautiful fabric, absolutely beautiful fabric. If I were to make this, I would probably skip the pleating that's at the front there. I'd still keep these lines here. I'd still keep the raglan sleeve that gives this portrait neckline, but I wouldn't have the pleats sticking out. Okay, enough about that. Moving on to those lovely cigarette pants, this time tailored. Again, impeccable tailoring in this issue, I have to say. Absolutely impeccable, bang on tailoring. Look at how that waistband seam is just meeting up. Yeah, and this time it's in like a pastel minty color fabric, and it just looks the bee's knees, in my opinion. Right, and then we've got this jacket. Oh, I love this jacket. This jacket has tempted me so much, but I have to look at all of the other jacket patterns that I've liked over the last 2 years to make a decision about which one to make. But this one is a definite high contender. Number one, I love the fact that it is a swing style. It's very roomy, which means that I can wear a lot of layers underneath it, because in winter my jackets need to be functional. It's not just about them being pretty. They have to be functional. I suffer from poor circulation and I need them to work properly. And it's got the pockets at just the right place where they kind of give you the, the hoodie style pockets that are the most comfortable, that you slot your hands in at an angle. I love that. And I love that big collar. It's got like a 60s, 70s vibe for me. I also like that it's got this belt at the back, which you could use hypothetically, if you didn't sew it in and you put buttons along there, you could use it to give yourself a little bit more shaping at the side. But yeah, love this. And I think that this is going to be a very popular one. And this pattern, given its timeless classic nature, it makes this magazine worth it. Absolutely makes this magazine worth it. And it's available in a size 36 to 44. And we also have a tutorial on how to make this really interesting looking belt that she is wearing. Fun. Maybe one day I might try making that sort of stuff, And there's also a tutorial on how to make unique bespoke buttons to go with your awesome coat. And I also love the fact that this is one of the featured sewing patterns, because it's not often that Burda do the more advanced patterns as the featured sewing patterns. So this is absolutely fabulous. And because you've got these instructions, even a beginner could attempt to make this and create a usable garment. Because the thing about coats is that they look like they're complicated to do, but they aren't that complicated, especially if they're fully lined. If they're fully lined, it's just kind of like you're making two of the thing and then you just sew them together. I was very surprised at how easy a coat is to sew up when I sewed my first coat. It just looks like it's difficult because it's so big and it goes over everything, but it isn't actually. And in fact, for most beginners who are starting to sew and they do have a coat that they've always wanted to make, my advice is always go for make that coat. Just start off with making the coat, because you'd be surprised at how easy they are. It's a beast to trace out though, because it has got tons of pattern pieces to trace out. So I think that this is a huge commitment, but you've got all of the instructions on there, which is really awesome. We've got a back to nature section with a simple tunic top, which reminds me of the Middle Ages, the sort of things that people wore in the Middle Ages. And I've just accidentally got my camera to zoom in, but there we go. All right, so we have that. And yeah, I guess if you just wanted to make an overcoat as a layer, it works. It's very simple to make. It's got a drop shoulder and a simple sleeve, and it's got a zipper at the back. Okay, I take it back. Not sure why it's got a zipper at the back. I think if you made this in a stretchy material, you could probably get away without having a zipper, because you can then just pull it over your head. But that's just me. And then we've got a simple sweater top with just a little tie detail at the front. Meh. Suppose you have to include a super easy pattern, so I'm not going to complain about that. But we've got blouse number 118 again, but this time it hasn't been made in a fussy color. They've actually used some contrasting fabrics to really showcase the funnel neckline, and they've used some covered buttons, which one easy way to make your sewing look professional and fresh is just use covered buttons. It just gives you more gravitas with your sewing garment, with your project. I like the use of mustard and navy. Mustard and navy, you've got me. That simple jacket, hooded top again, but this time it's been given a hood rather than just a collar. And they've given it the pockets. Yay, love the pockets. You must have pockets on these type of things. What was quite interesting about this is how they put a lettuce hem on the band, on the hemband and on the cuffs. And I was like, I've never thought of doing that before. So I've pinned that and made a mental note to try that, especially with some of the kids makes that I do. I was like, pretty cool. Now this one, number 102, I have a little bit of a love-hate relationship with it, but it's caught my eye. It definitely has caught my eye. So in the top form, when I first saw it as a top where they just had it, I was like, yeah, no, I could definitely make that. in this. But then when I saw it as a longer dress, I was just a little bit, and I couldn't quite put my finger on why I was a little bit nonplussed by it. And I think it's those curved hems here. I kind of feel like these don't work if the front hem is the same length as the back hem. Like, I feel like it should have been longer, and that just looks a little bit weird to me. So if I were to make this, I would probably shorten the front hem just slightly so that it's got that difference. Either that or not do this curved hem and just make it go straight. It just doesn't work for me. So once I figured that out, I was like, okay. But I like it as a top more than anything else. And then we've got that jacket again, the minimalist looking jacket. And I have to say, seeing it in the cream, you can kind of really see the potential of this jacket, especially with those deep pockets, and you've got the snap fasteners. And how it's been styled here shows you how it's quite versatile, because it's been worn under a hoodie. So you don't have to just make this for kind of like smart wear. I feel like I could make this and use for my school run as well. So fantastic, fabulous. And you've also got that detail on the sleeve as well, which if you wanted to play around with, you could do some contrasting and have this, you know, the upper half is one color, sleeves is another color, and the bottom is another color. So much potential with this jacket. And I have a feeling that this is going to be popular. And we've got the jumpsuit again, but this time it's in a heavier fabric. It's a twill, and you can see the piping on there. It's a pajama. It's a pajama. That's what it is, people. If you like pajamas, then that's a great one. And then must have, according to Burda, is the cargo pant. Now, this one gave me a bit of a giggle when I first saw this, because my first thought was, what on earth would I use these pockets down here for? And these look like functional pockets. These are not ornamental. They look like they're functional. And when I looked at the pattern, they are actually functional pockets. And I was just trying to imagine in my universe, because I'm a huge pocket user. You know, for me, pockets are everything, you know. I have to have a good reason to not have pockets on a garment, and normally it's to do with the design lines or with the fabric. If the fabric can't handle having pockets, it's not going to have it. But, you know, I love pockets. And I was trying to think, where would I, a prolific pocket user, actually use that? And I honestly struggled. I really, really did struggle to think of a situation in which I would be constantly bending over to, you know, to get something from there. I mean, I hate having to bend over unnecessarily. Our washing machine, I had to have it installed at a standing height so that I wouldn't have to constantly bend over. So I was just like, I mean, they look great. And if I were to make it, I would make them ornamental, because they do look great, and they'll certainly cause people to stop and think, oh, there are pockets down there, you know. But otherwise, I would just put these up slightly so that I can actually use them, and use them for my Kindle or my phone. But yeah, they did give me a little bit of a giggle. I like the use of the top stitching to create a belt and to do kind of like a self-facing belt. So yeah, that's trouser number 121. And we've got some more ads over here. And then there was a kids section which covered really kind of like toddler age size and some good basics and like a baby grow. Do you know, I never bothered making baby grows. They just seemed too fussy. Okay, and we've got a styling section here by the intern who's currently working at Burda, and she's wearing the wrap dress, and she styled it with some Doc Martens and a denim jacket. Not quite my favorite, but never mind. And we've got some accessories. I actually thought that the plus size section was quite good in this issue. This top, not so much. I don't like the pleat down at the front, but I thought that this one, with the white details, kind of redeemed the pleated front issue over here. So I thought that that was quite cute, the use of the blue and the white on the poplin. And I thought this was a very interesting top, okay? Because I was trying to figure out what's going on with it. Because if you just saw the pictures without the line drawings, you wouldn't have really realized that this is a shawl collar. But it does have a shawl collar, and it's got a turn-up sleeve on here. And I do like turn-up sleeves. I do like the concept. I like the concept of the shawl collar and using the smart fabric to create a smart looking outfit, workwear, because they've made it with the matching trousers. And yeah, I do think that it all looks quite cool. And then, oh, I loved this masterpiece one. It's an equestrian style jacket, and I love the equestrian style look. I made a similar jacket using a Vogue out of print pattern, and I love that jacket. And it's, you know, it's just basically got this long curved thing going down here. Love it. But what's really awesome about this is the minimalist vibe that it has, because it doesn't have the lapels or the revers. It just has this tiny little stand collar on it. And you've got the pocket with the piping detail over there, and the sleeve has got the piping detail. I just think that this is, you know, works really well. And we've got the trousers again, but this time they aren't in a stripy fabric. They're just in a crepe fabric. Good. Oh, and another jacket, really nice. Princess seams. I love princess seams because you can get a really good fitting with princess seams. So this jacket is very similar to this one, but except for it's been given a pleat and a peplum at the bottom if you wanted to create something a little bit more fitted. It doesn't quite wrap over. It's got a hook and eye fastening at the waist. Lovely and classy. I feel like this dress here, instead of just having a tie at the front there, it could have done with a belt. And I think it had a belt, it could have looked so much nicer. As it is, it feels like it's one step away from just being, you know, those hospital gowns that you just have a tiny little tie and you're a little bit worried about just exposing yourself. I kind of feel like there needs to be something more substantial, like a, you know, a belt across. So if I were to make something like this, I'd probably have a belt that goes across it. I love the color. And we've got some tutorials there. And so this is what we have, guys. This is our issue of Burda 9 2020. And I have to say, some fab patterns in here. A lot of classic stuff. I'm definitely making number 114. I'm definitely making number 107. I'm looking into making number 104 as well. I'm going to be making number 103. So, you know, for one issue, there's quite a lot of stuff that I want to make in there. Now, I'm just going to, as I promised, I'm just going to give you some little pointers about number 107 because I've already traced it out. So I've already traced it out. And so number 107, the skirt pattern pieces are huge. So this is just one pattern piece, and what I do is I tend to check if the skirt pattern pieces are exactly the same, because back in the day when I didn't used to check and I just used to trace blindly, I'd get really annoyed when I'd find out that the front pattern piece is exactly the same as the back pattern piece and I didn't need to trace it twice over. I could have just used the same one. So I always check with the skirt pattern pieces to see if they're similar, and when I checked them, this one is the back, number 6 is the back pattern piece. It's exactly the same as the front pattern piece, except for the bit where you have to fold them down here. So you can just trace out this front one and then put in the line for your back. So let me show you what that looks like. Okay. I'm going to show you just the upper bit. Okay, so this is the back. So I've got here where it says line for back of skirt, okay, and this has to be cut on the fold, the skirt back, so you don't have to worry about adding seam allowances. But this exact same line is the center front line for the front of your skirt, but because it's a wrap over style, you've got the extension that then goes out, and this is the facing that then folds down. Yeah, do you see? So there's no need for you to trace a separate back skirt pattern piece and then a front skirt pattern piece. You can just have the one pattern piece, and you just have to remember that the back is going to be cut on the fold and that the front, you have to fold it out like that. So I hope that this helps to save you the time and also all of that baking parchment or tracing paper that you would have used to create a second pattern piece. That's completely unnecessary. And going forward, maybe you'll remember that when it comes to tracing out skirts, always check if the front skirt pattern piece and the back pattern piece are the same, so that you don't have to repeat yourself. I've also traced out number 114, the skirt, and I did check the pattern pieces are different. Even for the flounces, they're slightly different, so I had to trace those out. You have to cut out the waist pattern piece though, which is pretty cool. So just to recap, I'm going to be making the skirt in this beautiful drapey fabric, and I'm going to be making the wrap dress in this rayon over here. And this this fabric is either going to be the simple top, or it's going to be the top with the flare. We'll just have to see, but I do quite like how these kind of match. Okay, so that's it, guys. A little bit extra long, but that's what you get when the issue is a banging issue like this 9/20/20. And again, I have to say, September seems to be the month that Burda gets their stuff, you know, like they really do their best stuff, because last year 9/20/19 was a banging issue, and this is a banger of an issue as well. So now it's your turn. Let me know which ones you're going to be planning to make from this issue. Are you going to be getting the magazine, or is this a big nay for you? Let me know in the comments box down below. And if you've stayed until this end, thank you so much, my puppies, and I absolutely appreciate you. You have a fantastic day. Stay safe and stay well. And until I see you next time, happy sewing. Bye.